Hello, everybody, and welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk number 46. Follow along with us on Google Plus at bit.ly/Tweet Talk 46, as well as on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, if you want to join us as a featured person of the day, then you can sign up at edumatch.education. Just wanted to give a huge shout out to Ed Camp Boxer, which will be coming back on July 5th through July 9th. And tonight we are going to be talking about podcasting. So we have an awesome panel with us tonight. So going from left to right, then we will have the panelists introduce themselves. We also have our moderator, Jeff, and I think that he might have dropped out, but I'm sure that he will be back shortly. So if we could, oh, I'm sorry, there you are, Jeff. All right. So if you could please introduce yourself, then we'll get the ball rolling.
How are you today, Sarah?
Doing great, Jeff. Great to see you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jeff Bradbury from the great state of New Jersey. I'm a podcaster, teacher, and you can find all the great work that's happening over on teachercast.net, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic, and we are so super excited to have you. So, like I said, we have an all-star panel here with us to share their experiences. So, if we could just start off with Carla and then just move from left to right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carla Jefferson. I'm the Instructional Technology Coordinator for the Darlington County School District in South Carolina. And with Rhett Hughes, we podcast DCSD Transforms, a weekly podcast for the teachers and our school district and our digital community.
All right, fantastic, Carla. And then next we have Chris.
Hey, I'm Chris Nesi, also from the great state of New Jersey, and I'm a high school teacher and a podcaster. My podcast is the House of EdTech podcast.
All right, wonderful. We are so happy to have you on. And next we have Demetrius. If you could please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Demetrius Ball. I'm a history social studies teacher in Maryland, and I just started podcasting back in, I guess, January. My podcast is focused on my local community, and it's called My Howard, Your Howard, Our Howard, basically focusing on the teachers of my school.
Wonderful, wonderful. And next we have Dr. Will.
All right, I had to mute myself. How are you doing? I'm Dr. Will. I am the host of the Dr. Will Show. I'm an instructional technologist for a K-12 school district.
All right, fantastic, Dr. Will. And last but not least, we have Josh.
Hello, Josh Allen. I am one of 3 hosts of Dads and Ed, a bi-weekly podcast that is wrapping up its 3rd year tomorrow night. I am a technology integration specialist in Iowa, but actually live in Nebraska, so excited to be here.
That is fantastic. Thank you to all of our panelists for joining us. So I'm going to kick it back over to our moderator, Jeff, and if you could also tell us about your awesome show, which is coming up tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you so much, guys, and it is really, really nice to be here and excited to be here with everybody. I love all of your shows. Tonight we have a 7 o'clock Tech Educator podcast. We do our live weekly webinars every single Sunday at 7 o'clock. Tonight we're actually going to be having Sarah as a guest on tonight. We're going to be talking all about workshops, presentations. It is that time of year where we get a lot of RFPs, requests for proposals for conferences, conventions, things like that. So tonight we're going to be talking all about what makes a good presentation and how you can improve your chances at getting picked at conferences. So what makes a good title, what makes a good description, what makes a good workshop, what type of presentations should you give to different types of workshops. And again, that's going to be over at teachercast.tv at 7 o'clock, as we are every single Sunday night.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, cannot wait to be part of that. So we're just going to go ahead and kick off the discussion now. So, so I guess I'm just going to open it up to y'all. What is your process for creating your podcast? If you could just please share it for the viewers right now.
Well, I'll kind of pick that one up a little bit here. I've been podcasting now for over 5 years, and it really did start off with just doing audio shows, recording stuff into GarageBand and then editing out in GarageBand and then popping it up into iTunes. Over time, as technology advanced, I guess if you will, we went from audio only to broadcasting only. To then we were recording everything in Google Hangouts, and then I've been finding that I edit everything out in Final Cut. I just have this little weird philosophy that anything I do edit-wise, how do I put it? It's easier for me to edit video than it is to edit audio. I don't know how you guys feel. Chris, how do you edit things? What's your workflow these days?
Well, since I still attest to having a face for audio only, I don't have to worry about the video end of things, although from time to time you can find me over on Blab doing stuff where you can see me. But for my podcast, it's audio only, and I record directly into Audacity on my Windows machine, and I edit my audio in Audacity and upload my MP3 files to Libsyn, which is my host.
Now, do you find that your audio quality is the same on your Blab shows as it is when you go directly into Audacity?
No, because when I'm on Blab, or even like say I'm doing like this audio here for Google Hangout, it's being broadcast. Each service will compress the audio in a different way. But when I'm recording directly just into Audacity or any other program directly, that's just the audio. I don't have to worry about streaming to the internet or bandwidth or any of those other factors. So just going into the software, obviously I'm going to get better audio quality.
Josh, how about yourself? How do you and the Dad's podcast do your recordings?
Yeah, and I would second what Chris just said. So the three of us are not in the same place at the same time ever. Well, rarely. So we do Google Hangout on there like we are here. We use a website called Listen to YouTube to download that as an MP3, edit in GarageBand, and then upload to, we store ours on Podbean. That then goes to iTunes, and we haven't, actually I don't think I announced it, we're actually on Google Play now. So I have tinkered around. I was interested, I think it was Demetrius and Carla were talking about them doing one for their own. I've done one for our school district where I record just in Audacity, but I haven't done a good job about keeping that up, and definitely the audio quality is better. But like I said, we do a live show. We're not in the same spot, and so we do what we do.
That sounds great, Dr. Will. How do you do things where you are?
I always do my shows on Google Hangouts, and then I download the audio and upload it to SoundCloud. I have done one show once before because I had someone who was a little gun shy of video, and we did the show via oh my gosh, Block Talk Radio. Has anyone used that before?
Not yet.
So it's basically, it's like a call-in. You create this radio show, you give them a number, and they call in, and then it's recorded, and you can download the video or pop the audio straight into SoundCloud or whatever.
Demetrius, how did you get started podcasting? You said you're doing a show for your school. Do you do it during school hours? Do you do it after school hours? How does all that work?
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. Basically, I guess back in December, I had the idea to come up with to do a podcast, really just to tell the story of my school. And so I do my interviews during school or after school. I ask teachers, give me about 15 to 20 minutes, and it's been a pretty positive thing so far as community building. I do my recording in BossJock, and then I actually use Spreaker to upload all my sound. So thanks to you.
Have you ever tried doing the Spreaker Live stuff? That's pretty easy to do.
I haven't done Spreaker Live yet, but I think it's something I might try if I get some time after school. We can try that one time.
I've helped out a lot of people using Spreaker to do live morning announcements and then have that go directly to iTunes or whatever. And it's I don't want to say couldn't be easier, but it's right up there as it's pretty simple to do. Carla, how are you doing with everything? What's your process these days?
Rhett actually teaches at the campus that is connected to our district office. So every averages between Monday and Tuesday, depending on the schedule, we record in our studio, which is either conference room 1 or conference room 6 in our district office. We actually do everything in GarageBand. We record in GarageBand, edit in GarageBand, and then upload to Podbeam and then iTunes.
Nice. I want to switch over to one of the important topics here, and because when you're looking at a podcast, you know, I do a show called Educational Podcasting Today, and we always ask the question, can you podcast for free? Or do you podcast for free? Let's just do a quick round robin. What you know, some of us are doing it for a hobby, some of us are doing it for school, some of us are doing it, you know, trying to get sponsorships and things like that. Maybe comment a little bit on your budget and what kind of, you know, what goes into producing a show like yours. Carla, how are you doing with things? Is there a budget for this at school, or are you bootstrapping this, or how does it work?
The district pays for the Podbean subscription, and then other than that, that's about it. Now our communications officer, I think they are looking into actually building a studio for the district, not just for Rhett and I, but also for students or teachers that want to do things with their classes. And our superintendent is thinking about jumping in a little bit. So, but the district will absorb that cost.
Nice, Chris. I understand you just installed a boom mic arm in the ISS room. Is this true?
No, that is not true. My podcast takes place right here in the actual House of Ed Tech, which is undergoing renovations as we speak.
Nice. What do you think about all this topic? I mean, I know you're doing this as a hobby. Can you podcast for free? I mean, and I understand when I say the word free, we're talking equipment and all that other big stuff, but what suggestions do you have when a school says, I want to do this, how much will it cost me?
Well, I can certainly throw out prices and numbers and recommend gear that could be purchased, but for a school, for a classroom, 100% you can totally do this for free. You know, I mean, the expectation can't be to have a super high quality production, but I mean, the free technology that's available, you know, that changes all the time and is improving all the time. So can you, if you have a classroom with an iPad, or if you're the teacher with, you know, an iPhone 6, you know, absolutely, you can use the onboard microphone. You can use something like you just brought up, you know, Spreaker Live, and Mixlr, Mixlr has a live broadcast app as well. So you can be broadcasting content from your handheld device, use that microphone, and, you know, off you go. Obviously, you take the quality and the production value to another place if you invest some funding into a microphone, and I won't even say software, because you can do it just fine for free in something like Audacity or GarageBand, you know. So I mean, there's a lot of variables. So podcasting is great for math.
Demetrius, how are you doing with budgeting and funding your adventures?
Well, I'm taking care of everything on my own. I purchased a microphone. The first time I did it, I tried to just go straight from my iPhone, and I did not like the sound quality at all. So I went and bought a microphone, and just using my microphone and my iPhone, and that's all the cost. The only other cost is the time it takes. Spreaker, you have I forget the amount of hours that you get for free, but basically uploading it there. So it's pretty free.
Sweet. Dr. Will, how you doing with everything?
Everything is free except SoundCloud. I pay $15 a month for you know, to be able to upload unlimited podcasts.
Nice. And Josh, how are things with the Dad's Show?
Yeah, we do pay for the 100 megabyte upload to Podbean, but other than that, it's just equipment that we have. You know, I was even thinking, as you're talking about, you know, classroom, if you record your audio on whatever, put it with a picture background, upload it to YouTube, and put it in Blogger. I mean, all that, like Chris said, it's not the greatest of quality, but there's a lot of ways that you can do it for free or cheap.
So let's do one more question here, because we have a question coming in from our live audience. And by the way, out there, thank you so much for checking out the show and asking your questions. Of course, if you want to reach out to us, you can certainly do so. Chris here has a question about finding guests, hosts. How do you approach people? I know this is a topic that I get frequently of how do you bring in guests, or how do you approach guests? Does anybody want to chime in on this? Like, what is your method for finding? Let's talk finding guests to be on your show. What suggestions do you guys have?
I'll jump in. Our guests right now are limited to teachers in our district, our superintendent, and then recently for our 25th anniversary, we had our director of technology. So our format is pretty much the same every week, where we highlight teachers, highlight neat things that kids are doing in the classroom, and then we kind of share like an app or tool. So for us, we can kind of do without like a guest every week, just because our format stays pretty standard, just to kind of keep our community in the know as to what's going on in our district.
Nice. Josh, what do you think? What's your method for bringing in content?
We try and pull someone from different parts of the country, and so we try not to get too stuck with a certain part. Obviously, the three of us are from the Midwest, so we know a lot of people around here that fit the criteria of being a dad and being in education. We've actually had some women on too, especially around Mother's Day and stuff like that. But ours is pretty simple. Hey, do you want to be on? They ask what it's about, and we say we're not creative enough to make that like a creative title. It's about being a dad and being in education. So, it's just kind of reaching out to the networks that we have.
Dr. Will, what's your method? Because I know you're doing some pretty neat things down there.
Well, thank you. Mostly it's from my connections on Twitter or LinkedIn. We're all there, and we're seeing people, and I'm seeing people doing some awesome things, and so I'll reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and I would like for you to be on the show, and depending on their expertise, we sort of figure out a topic. Now, I have a question for everyone, if you don't mind me asking.
Go for it.
Now, we all see people that are very, either on social media they're engaging, or you may meet them at a conference, and they're just awesome people, and you're like, yo, this person's going to be awesome on my show. And you get on your show, and they're not awesome. The show kind of drags. How do you deal with that when you thought this was going to be a very high-energy, popping show, and now you're kind of struggling to get through the questions because you're bored yourself?
Well, actually, Dr. Will, I can hop in on that, because back on my show in episode 18, I had Jeff Bradbury on, and
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. He was great. I just wanted to throw out the joke. That's all.
We typically what our problem is with doing the Google Hangout on air, we've only probably had one or two boring guests, but we have technical issues all the time. We have people that try and do it from their phone, or they're on like their own bad internet connection. We have a list of probably 10 questions, and we rarely get through them anyway, but we just start cutting the questions short. And, we actually have a Voxer group between the three of us, so if we're not bold enough to put it in the comments, we'll just send a Voxer message, wrap it up, let's go. But luckily all of us are pretty like-minded. We know when it's not going well for us or them.
So I get the question a lot of what happens when you have a bad interview, and that's basically what you're asking here. And I think Chris knows where I'm going with this, but my answer is pretty simple. I've done all these podcasts for the last 5 years. I've never once interviewed anybody, and I say that in the form of everything that we do on our show is always conversation based. So it's much like dating. you're talking to somebody across the table, you're asking how you doing, what's new, how are things, tell me about your app, what kind of microphone do you have? And if the conversation isn't going the way you want it to, just ask different questions. I'm not a believer in let's can the first 5 questions. I'm not a big believer in let's can the last 5 questions.
But to that end, Jeff, when you say it's like a date, you know, even when you're on a date, you have an objective and a goal you want to get to.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, like for your shows, you know, and having been on it previously, you have a goal of, all right, here's why I have this guest on or this company, because it's something, it's whether they're promoting something or, you know, that there is an objective. But I definitely see what you're saying, and I agree. And I started off as somebody who, you know, I would write out questions. I may not ask them word for word, but for me, that's evolved to having like bullet points, or in asking my guests, you know, one of the questions I ask them before I interview them or have them on or have that conversation is, how can I make this beneficial for you? So I get from the people I want to bring on, what do they hope to get out of it? Because I have my own objective, but what are they looking for as being a guest on a podcast? So I think that's a question everybody should consider.
Oh, absolutely. And I have a chance to speak with a lot of ed tech companies, and when you're working with PR agents trying to set these companies up, oftentimes they ask, well, who should be on the company or on the podcast? Who from my company should I bring on? And I always try to suggest, you know, I don't need the CEO and I don't need the marketing guy. I need Mr. Personality. You know, we're always doing a show to bring in the best listeners. You realize that most people have turned off the podcast by now, right? So what are you going to do to make that listener go from the beginning of the show to the end of the show? Give me personality, give me energy, give me excitement, give me something fantastic. And, you know, it's just the more you do this and the longer you do this for, you kind of get that energy up there. And it is different. You know, you're talking to 18-year-olds in high school differently than you're having a conversation with 4th graders. You have to work a little harder to have a conversation sometimes with a 4th grader. Same thing with adults. If you know that you're having a podcast with somebody who's not giving you what they want, you got to work a little harder. Anybody else want to chime in on that one? Carla, Demetrius, Dr. Will?
I'll just say real quick, since mine is recorded, if there's an interview that doesn't go well, then I just won't post that one. Or maybe I'll even ask them to do it again or find someone else.
Yeah, we've been kind of lucky. When my superintendent came on, we just kind of did 4 or 5 sound bites with him, just because we know he's super busy. And if we have somebody else coming on, we kind of go ahead and give them the questions ahead of time, and that kind of gives them the opportunity to think about what they want to say, you know, before they come on. That seems to have worked well for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really wanted to thank everybody for this awesome discussion. So thank you to all of our panelists for joining us. Such great insights. Thank you to our moderator, Jeff, for moderating the conversation. So this is going to be transcripted. The chat will be transcripted and sent out, the back channel on Twitter, as well as the audio available as an iTunes podcast. So just for everybody who's watching, come back next week. We're going to have an EduMatch doubleheader. So the first one will be at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, rated Y for yoga. So make sure to tune in for that at bit.ly/tweettalk46Y, as well as in the evening at the same bad time, same bad channel, we are going to have episode number 47, which is #WhyITeach, moderated by the fantastic Tammy Neal. So again, many thanks, and I will see y'all next week. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, thanks, y'all.